I didn't argue when my mother said it. That's what surprised her. She'd taken the envelopes from the kitchen counter so casually that, for a second, I thought she was just admiring them. The printed logos of Universal Studios were bright and impossible to ignore. My son had been staring at them all week like they were a promise that couldn't be broken. "Your son doesn't need them," she said, already turning toward my sister. "Her kids deserve it more. They've never had a real trip." My sister didn't hesitate. "Of course. My kids should have a special experience." It wasn't cruel laughter. That would have been easier to confront. It was light, assumed, as if this were the obvious redistribution of resources in a sensible household. Behind me, I heard my son's breath catch. Not loud, just that sharp inhaled children make when something shifts before they understand it. I watched my mother slide the tickets across the table to my sister's hands. "Don't be upset," she added, not looking at me. "You're practical. You understand." There it was again. That framing. Practical. Mature. As if fairness was childish. My son's face crumpled in stages. First confusion, then realization, then the effort not to cry in front of everyone. I felt something tighten in my chest, not explosive anger, not humiliation. Recognition. This wasn't new. Birthday gifts quietly adjusted. Invitations redirected. Compliments distributed unevenly. It had always been positioned as logic. My sister struggled more, her children needed more. I was stable, therefore, mine required less. The pattern had texture now. Weight. I crouched beside my son. "Go get your jacket," I said softly. He looked at me like I'd misheard everything. "We're still going." My mother made a small dismissive sound. "You don't need to make this dramatic." I didn't answer. Earlier that morning before they arrived, I'd called the park's customer service line. It wasn't instinct, it was memory. Last year, my mother had borrowed concert tickets I'd bought for myself and reassigned them to a church friend. I'd learned then how easy it was to transfer digital passes if no safeguards were set. This time, I'd added them to my account. Registered names, activated ID verification, non-transferable entry. Not because I expected her to take them, because I understood that she might. At the entrance, the air smelled like sunscreen and asphalt warming in the sun. Families clustered in loose, excited formations. My sister's kids were bouncing, already pointing at distant rides. My mother walked ahead, holding the printed tickets like she'd purchased them herself. I stayed a few steps back with my son. His eyes were red but dry now. He was quiet in a way that didn't belong on a day like this. At the gate, a staff member scanned the first ticket. There was a pause. He scanned again. Then he looked up. Polite but firm. "I'll just need to see the account holder's ID, please." My sister laughed lightly. "Oh, they're fine. It's for the kids." "I understand," the staff member said evenly. "These passes are registered and non-transferable. They're flagged under a specific name." My mother stepped closer. "There must be some mistake." "There isn't," he replied. "The tickets are linked to the purchaser's identification. If the registered holder isn't present, entry isn't permitted." The word "permitted" landed with weight. My sister's smile thinned. "Well, she's right there." She gestured toward me as if I were an inconvenience she'd rather not involve. All eyes shifted. I stepped forward, calm. I handed over my ID. The staff member compared it, nodded, and rescanned the tickets. A soft, confirming beep followed. "Thank you," he said. "You and your registered guest are all set." Registered guest. I felt my mother's gaze on me before I looked at her. Her face had gone pale, not dramatically, not theatrically, just drained of certainty. "You did this on purpose," she said quietly. "Yes," I answered. "There was no heat in it." My sister crossed her arms. "So you're really going to exclude them? Over tickets?" "No," I said. "I'm including my son." The staff member stood there, neutral, unmistakable. Policy had spoken. The moment wasn't negotiable. My mother's authority, so absolute in kitchens and living rooms, had no currency here. For a second I thought she might argue further, demand escalation, invoke age, status, motherhood. But the line behind us was growing. Other families were watching. The staff member waited without flinching. My sister exhaled sharply. "Forget it. We'll do something else." They stepped aside. No one apologized. I didn't ask for one. I knelt in front of my son. "Ready?" He nodded, still unsure if this was real. Inside the gates, the noise swallowed us. Music, distant screams from roller coasters, announcements echoing overhead. He clutched the park map like it might disappear. We didn't rush. We didn't perform joy for anyone. We walked slowly, letting the day reassemble itself. After the first ride, he smiled properly. Not the careful kind. The kind that stretches. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother: "You embarrassed us." I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back, "No, I protected him." I didn't add anything else. The rest of the day was smaller than I'd imagined when I first bought the tickets. There was no extended family photo, no shared meals. Just two people navigating a park that suddenly felt bigger and clearer. On the drive home, my son leaned his head against the window. "Were they mad?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "Are you?" I considered that. "No," I told him. "I'm done pretending it's fair." He nodded like that made sense. In the weeks that followed, something subtle shifted. I stopped sharing details about plans in advance. I didn't leave envelopes on counters. I didn't offer explanations for boundaries. My mother still favors my sister's children. That hasn't changed. But access has. There are fewer opportunities to reassign what isn't hers. At the next family gathering, she was careful with her words around me. Not warm, not apologetic. Careful. Power doesn't always roar when it changes hands. Sometimes it just stops asking permission.